All right. Quentin, you are the first block.
I'm trying to think what all I've done, but the biggest thing was probably just this last 2 days with the appeals court asked us to add some question for pronouns, to list pronouns on the bottom of their motion forms that we complete for them. So I did that. I implemented a pronoun fields method for assembly line. And I realized that the appeals court forms don't use assembly line. They're still the MAVC stuff.
Ah, yes.
So be nice when we get e-filing, we'll be able to migrate those over.
Move everything over. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I made a copy of the implementation there. So the stuff is merged for assembly line, but I haven't merged it for the appeals court stuff because that's the first slide form that I'll use it. I figure it's a good chance to do one more check.
All right. Well, why don't we hear what everyone has, and then we'll loop back and you can show us, and we can just polish it off now.
Sounds good.
Anything else on your end?
No, I don't think so. There's other stuff I've been working on. I can't think of anything that needs.
Yeah, probably not the. I feel like sometimes there's a lot of stuff we work on that is not this venue. So, all right, Michelle.
Been working on bugs. Having some health and life things, so kind of my own obstacles. But started working on the upload bug just to find the doc that Jonathan had broken some of our code with upstream changes. So, and that the 3-part state, Bryce was totally right. I got into those investigations because tests were failing. I think 3-part state validation is delaying how long it takes for a page to navigate. So we really need to figure out like something more solid for detecting or rating for page navigation. I don't know exactly how to do that because like navigation shows that the URL has changed, so the page has navigated, but the page is not done navigating. And so other than adding a timeout, which will slow all tests down, but they'll fail less, but I don't know. Like, you know, because it also depends on the server. So yeah, frustrated about that. But first I'm solving the upstream DocAssembly bug. And really the other is only mattering for random tests at the moment, random input tests. And assembly line tests, I guess 3-part dates tests. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna do that after fixing the DocAssembly bug. I'll then be able to go back to the uploads bug, and then I'll either work on page navigation or on making the uploads and the source folder stuff in general more robust, so it's less of a hack and more of an actual maintainable code.
Fun with refactoring.
Yes. Well, that's why the tests all need to pass, right? Like I need passing tests to be able to make sure that my tests are passing. Unfortunately, we've built a lot of good tests for this. So at least, I mean, they're catching stuff, so that's good. If they weren't, and you know, we would have a lot of frustration ahead of us discovering these things. Yeah, but other than that, just blocked by my own brain and picking paint colors.
That's right. We still are waiting for pictures. But that's it's a non-recorded situation. All right. I don't have anything much to add to this. Just working fun paperwork things into the fiscal year fund. Quentin, why don't we look at that? Why don't we look at those pronouns?
Sure. And Michelle, I don't know if you saw it. I opened up a PR on the data spinner to the kiln look like.
Awesome.
Well,
What a
hopefully it's,
frickin'
you
awesome,
said you were
like-
blocked. I wasn't sure if I'm doing the same thing that you were thinking, but it's what I was thinking when I said you need a spinner there. Just
Well, if it spins, then
spin.
that's great. Because we
It
couldn't
visually
get anything
indicates that the
spinning.
screen is still doing something.
That's amazing, because we just couldn't. We tried so many things and we couldn't get it to spin. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, just certain references. There's a bootstrap component for it. So I just put in one from
Oh,
the documentation.
okay. We were trying through Font Awesome. That was what.
Yeah, there is a way to do it through Font Awesome too.
Well, apparently not. So,
I know I've done it on another page, but it's very possible that the upgrade in between has broke something. But yeah, it works with Bootstrap still. Bootstrap class.
okay.
All right. And let's see. So it's pretty simple. I'll actually, let me pull up the. I'll run the actual interview that we're looking at. So I made a generalized class or method on the AL individual class to get a list of gender of pronouns. My thought was it makes sense on the name question. It's like, how do we address you? So these are the 5 pronoun choices, and these 5 are randomized. They, them, he, him, she, her, z's, here, z's, zers, which I wasn't as familiar with, but when looking into it, it seems like this is the more common, or the first common non-binary pronoun, although people don't have to use pronouns that match their gender identity, obviously. And then people kind of switch to this one because it's a little easier to say, but it has the same meaning. So, but I don't know how to say that people should use one over the other. So it doesn't seem like it's too big of a deal to have both of those slightly less common choices. But.
Do we have any, I remember maybe Bryce had seen something, and one of the things he had pulled up was did we find any best practices of pronoun lists or?
Yeah, I looked through, I did a fair amount of like research, and this was basically the set that seemed to be the most common set across different recommendations. I found a paper which said using pronouns is helpful. The rest were generally like more general interest sites. Like there was a page from Glisten and a few others. So you can see I put all the.
Oh, it's all in the comments. Yeah.
All on the issue. So you can read through this. I didn't add it to the documentation page because I'm not sure. It was good background information. I didn't look at any of them closely enough other than the peer-reviewed paper to say that these are the references that we should say other people should refer to. But you should feel free to look through them and see. Yeah. I'm asking for some more feedback too from the.
Yeah. I did notice they were. What's the thinking behind them being checkboxes?
People use more than one set
More
of
than one.
pronouns, so that's why. Yep.
And what about the?
So something else.
Yeah, the last 3 there. It's like, yeah.
Unknown. We can decide if that always makes sense to show. People don't. So if you're asked to describe someone else's pronouns, which is
right,
our tool is built to allow you to do
yeah.
then you may not know someone else's pronouns. So you may want to say that affirmatively rather than just saying prefer not to say, which won't be accurate. Generally, people know their own pronouns.
Right. That's what I was
which
thinking of that use case.
That would kind of more fall into prefer not to say if they don't want to share them. Unknown seems very intrusive, maybe to ask somebody like, what are your pronouns? You don't know your pronouns.
Yeah, I guess that,
but they get the prefer not to say option.
Right. I guess my question is just from like a user experience. If I'm being asked and I'm the user and I don't recognize that this is a generic set of options where it might be asking you to specify someone else's pronouns, the unknown seems jarring.
It's fair. I mirrored the way we do the gender questions, which
Yeah.
have the options for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Gender, the context that comes up in where I don't know very many of our forms that ask for gender in Massachusetts, but it's generally like the defendant's information form.
Yeah.
Where you're describing someone else's gender. So that's a bit different to how we ask for pronouns. So
yeah, there it seems clear that it's, you're asking about someone else's as an identifier for whatever so that's my only first thought. I guess the other one is, since we had this as a particular request from appeals, it might make sense to socialize or ask them if this fit within their bounds, since they're the first ones who would be using it like extensively.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking, they're given their timeline, it may make sense to release something that we feel comfortable with and say, hey, we're ready to change it, rather than to say we won't do anything until give us a go ahead.
Yeah, it could be a quick, do you veto this? Right? Like,
I guess so.
Is this can we just push this one? And then it's in their court, since they are the ones who had wanted to push for the timing.
What to
do with
the
unknown?
Two more questions, if it's okay. If there's time, I have a few.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything else on the agenda. We can spend some time here.
Probably don't have to spend 20 minutes on it, but
no.
Okay.
But we can spend more time on it than we have so far.
Okay. So when people pick more than one, how does the code pick which one to use?
So it doesn't pick one to use. We're not addressing people by pronouns in our interviews generally. Like, I don't know any circumstances where we do that.
But if they talk about someone else, we just address them with their proper nouns. We just say,
we tend to use the name or the role.
Okay.
I think the use case that this is envisioning is someone wants to interact, say, with the court, and they're filing something, and they want to let the court know that these are their preferred pronouns. And so it might not be something in the interview, but further down the line, when the court then interacts with them, then they can appropriately use their pronouns. Is that the use case as you understand it, Quentin?
That's the way I understood the request for us to add it, was exactly that. So yeah, we list the pronouns at the bottom of the form. I think we even got that detail from the conversation, and it just lists them as a set, which is why we're able to say something else. People can write in their preferred pronouns. They don't need to go into some magical box where we use them, figure out how to parse it, and then use them for the appropriate 5 places that.
Got it. That's awesome.
It's just listing them. Yeah. So they just say exactly what they want it to be, and it's printed exactly as they wrote it.
Yeah. In that case, one of my questions doesn't matter anymore. And the other one, if they pick something else, can we offer them 3 text boxes where they can put their, they, their, theirs version?
Well, first of all, there's not just 3, right? That's kind of a shorthand.
Yeah.
That's 5, right? If you think of the different pronoun inflections.
That's
and I think, no, I don't think it doesn't match how we're using these. And we're not using them in a way that's other than just printing it literally on the output. So.
What do you mean? I mean, you would just print it on the output, right?
So then the 3 boxes, I don't know if it would help people enter it correctly. Since we're not using it that way, it's extra inputs that we're not really using.
I like the free text just because it provides the most options for folks to however they want to identify.
Oh, I see. I didn't see it open up the text box. It's just a free self-described pronoun.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
You can just...
Yes, I thought you were saying 3 boxes instead of just 1. Yeah, so you hadn't seen that there's the 1 box.
Yes.
So you can
All
write
right.
one per line, which actually is a clarification I have in the assembly version. I'll add here, like one set per line is what we expect.
And what's the additional text under the question mark? Does that explain how we use it?
That's another thing to double check. So here's just a very simple definition. Pronoun's a word that can be used in place of your name. For example, he, she, or they. Learn more at pronouns.org, which I've looked through a lot of their pages. It seems like really simple and direct. Answers what I think people's top questions would be. So that's, I guess, a question. That's the thing where I was like, well, I think probably the appeals court has kind of a vague idea they want to ask for pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
Have a more specific idea if they're comfortable linking to a particular site as a reference. I looked around and saw, like, what are some other options? This one is the most concise and clear.
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia has a page that's very confusing and irrelevant.
So the only thing that occurs to me is that it might be useful to explain the use case somehow.
Like, why do we ask, basically?
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
So it's like this is we as a rule we don't use pronouns in our form interviews, but this is to provide this will be included as information on your filing. Optional information. It is just to make it clear what the rationale is. I mean, that's always one of the.
Yeah, no, I like, that's a really good point. I don't remember if we
for the
have
court,
like
for the court to see
here.
to tell the
Well,
court.
to place on the filing such that those who interact with the filing can know your preferred pronouns.
Well, I think the filing, as a lay person, the filing would not be very clear to me.
I'm not saying that's the
see.
words it should be. I'm just saying that's the use case.
I thought you were correcting
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wording. I was like, okay, got it.
No.
Got it.
The only thing that still just strikes me as a little jarring is if it's asking for my pronouns and the unknown fit in among the three.
Yeah, I think it's easy to take it out of this one. I'm trying to think about how to, because this is just particular for your pronouns.
I think you're entirely right. If it's asking for someone else's, then I definitely want that option. Or
we're violating. Well, we're just within the 7 plus or minus 2.
Yeah,
for a list of options.
Well, this here is very specifically. This is also very specifically. What are your pronouns? What how does that change if we're asking about someone who's other than the user?
So I don't think it's relevant to the appeals court forms, but if you ask for somebody else's pronouns, we have you want to know like what the baseline question looks like.
Yeah.
I just say here, we have in the question, it's as an example.
Yeah.
So check one or more pronouns that you want people to use to refer to you. That's the generic form, actually. And then it just says choose one or more pronouns.
Okay. So we can distinguish, we programmatically know whether or not we're asking the user to input their own information or someone else's.
Kind of. I mean, so in the code, it's different. Like we would need to say, look up for an exact name of the object, which is usually pretty safe for us to do. We could probably figure out a way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we could do that, then that would be my first bit, and then my second bit would be, let's think of this as a very strong MVP. Get a quick okay from that this meets the use case as envisioned, and then we should probably think of a plan for doing some follow-up somehow. Perhaps we can tap our community for best practice or something. I saw you already shared some stuff with the partners group. Maybe folks there will know something.
I wrote a page because
Yeah.
our question library, which we still need to build out, obviously. But this was like, at least I need to write down how to use the thing. Or write a little page about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really at the details stage where it's like, how many is the appropriate listing? How do we avoid the 7 plus or minus 2 issue? I just want to make it as clean as possible.
Yeah, I think once we start to just say these are the pronouns we're going to keep in or out.
Yeah,
it's hard to say between like these two variations. I wasn't totally sure if we needed both. I looked through just a small number of resources and I saw both variations. So I was like, if we're going to try to be inclusive, probably want to include choices people use.
Yeah, and that's the question.
There's a long tail, right?
Yeah. What are the choices people actually use?
And then the something else is the one that lets us.
That's the.
But we don't want to probably have just they, them, she, her, he, him, and something else. So.
I agree. But I think we're at the this moves beyond my expertise, and so I would like to, it would be nice to have.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see if people have other thoughts, but hopefully, I think we can start just with our grant partner ideas.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. Start with the initial, since just start with the also, just get a sense from appeals, since they're the ones who want to go live with it first,
right?
And then all right, so check with appeals, MVP it, see what feedback we get, adjust as needed. Maybe, I guess there is sort of the open question though on what are we doing with the unknown? Are we?
No, I don't think it's open. I think you make a good point. We should take it off if it's the user, and that's easy to do.
Okay.
I'll think about how to do it for the rest of the library.
Okay. Yeah, because I think in one instance, it's one of those things where the in one instance it feels validating, and in one use case it feels negating somehow. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where like in this context, good. In this context, potentially bad. And the context seems important. So if we can know that, I think
it's a little awkward. I don't know that it would be bad for anybody in the other.
Well, it seems negating to me to say, I don't know. Maybe other people would have different experiences.
That's fair. Hard to know.
But I feel like it feels, but again, this is where I say it's outside of my expertise. I definitely want it there if I'm talking about someone else's, because I don't want to make those assumptions. But if someone is asking me and it's set next to the prefer not to or something else, then I find myself questioning why is it there, and maybe it only feels ham-handed, not insulting, but I don't know. I just feel like there's a potential there. That's all.
Could be.
No
I
harm.
mean, I could see it going the other way too. For some people, I think, especially some young people, their answer might be, I don't know right now.
It's true.
But I don't know as opposed to unknown.
Yeah. And also that I feel like that could be covered in the something else, right? I feel like something else is a good catch-all, and it's good to use a catch-all when you're not certain about the particulars. But again, I think this is the right direction. I think we touch base with the stakeholders, we implement the MVP, we get additional feedback, we change as necessary, we learn, we grow.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. That's nice. And then it's nice to have this little additions. This is what we wanted to be able to do with our question bank, and so it's nice to see this thought going into it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other live issues for the official meeting?
Can't think of anything else.
don't think so.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm gonna try to get through this stuff, mix of lever backlog stuff, and then maybe turning back to the court forms online sometime soon. But yeah.
Well, in that case, into the weekend. Goodbye, recording.